Recently, FieryFurnace, a rad dude who's been working tirelessly to help archive every piece of SatAM production material possible, which has been a huge help to me since I've been writing a book going over the history of the show, was able to get in contact with Phil Harnage, a writer who worked for DiC during the production of all 3 Sonic cartoons. He was kind enough to send over his documents related to the shows, which led to some really interesting finds regarding the history of all 3 DiC Sonic shows, especially related to Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Underground. For example, they originally planned to introduce a new main character in Adventures, Merlina, a clumsy and not very skilled witch who has the body of a young Elvira, but with the spunky attitude of Roseanne, who hates to be rushed and has a motto of hurry up and wait. She and Sonic of course would have butted heads, although she would have loved Tails, who idolizes her alongside Sonic, and acts as a peacemaker between the two of them. Merlina also claims to be a direct descendant of Merlin, and by now, you've probably noticed something extremely strange about this character. This character is nearly identical to a character featured nearly 17 years after this document was written in the video game Sonic and the Black Knight. That game features the character also named Merlina, who is a wizard who is also descended from Merlin. Did Sega rework this character intended for Adventures into one of their games nearly 17 years later? Probably not, but it's weird how similar these characters are. Regarding Sonic Underground, Sonia was seemingly originally supposed to be the only sibling to Sonic, being a sexy Jessica Rabbit type character, but with the same attitude of Sonic. Sonic also had a porcupine sidekick named Quilly, who had a crush on Sonia. Scratch and Grounder were originally going to be the bounty hunters in the show, being led by Grotty, Robotnik's even eviler twin brother. There's also Mannequin Queen Alina's original names being Edsel and Rachel respectively, and the fact that what happened to the trio's father was originally going to be a second ongoing mystery for the show. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in these documents. But none of that even remotely compares to 2 absolutely insane documents created around mid-1993. You see, so far, I've been discussing the 3 DiC Sonic shows that did get made. Sonic the Hedgehog, better known as SatAM, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic Underground. But these 2 documents didn't discuss the details of any of the released Sonic shows, but instead, an unmade 4th show. Yeah, you heard me right, a 4th DiC Sonic show. A show that would have been the 3rd to air, likely during the airing of the already running SatAM and Adventures shows, and wouldn't even have focused on Sonic himself, instead diving into Sonic's siblings over 6 years prior to Underground. I'm Jacob Berkeley, the SatAM historian, and this is the story of DiC's unmade Sonic cartoon, Super Sonic Sisters. DiC's journey to getting 2 Sonic shows on the air at the same time was kinda wild. For those who don't know, SatAM was the first Sonic show put in development, likely starting around late 1991 to early 1992. After getting an on-air commitment from ABC, DiC tried pushing their luck by requesting to air Sonic on both primetime and in syndication. ABC initially turned this down, but Robbie London was able to persuade ABC by promising that the 2 DiC Sonic shows would be nothing alike. This led to the creation of a second, much more silly Sonic cartoon, originally known as Sonic the Adventure, then Sonic and Friends, and finally, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Due to some weird behind-the-scenes stuff, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog would actually be put into production first, with SatAM being put into production second, despite SatAM's development predating it by almost a year. But DiC pulled it off, and both were set to premiere in September of 1993. SatAM's pilot was originally going to air as an ABC special in spring of 1993, but that fell through. However, despite having 2 Sonic shows already in production, there was one thing about both of the Sonic shows which seemingly bugged the company. Both shows were primarily aimed at boys. Yeah, despite SatAM being pretty well known for its strong female characters, apparently DiC just didn't feel that was enough. So, in mid-1993, DiC started putting together development outlines for a 3rd Sonic show, this time being primarily focused on a female demographic. This would lead to the creation of 2 documents, a premise document on April 26 of 1993, and a summary document on June 17th of 1993, of a brand new Sonic show called Super Sonic Sisters, focusing not on Sonic, but instead his 2 cousins who live in space. No concept art seems to have ever been made for the show, or at least none of it has ever surfaced online. But thanks to the lovely artist GwenLongcrierCat, she's put together some rough animatic-like illustrations to accompany the pitch. So, without further ado, here is the complete story and premises of the unmade DiC Sonic show, Super Sonic Sisters. Don't blink or you'll miss them. They're Super Sonic sisters. Otherwise known as Sonic's speedy cousins, Monica and Isabelle. They're supersonic identical twins. 2, too much fun, and 2, too outrageous. Quick! Turn the page for double action, double laughs, and double delight. Supersonic sisters, a double eclipse. Halfway between childhood and teenhood, halfway between Mobius and its many moons, you'll find Monica and Isabelle, the supersonic twin sisters. Though they look alike, the resemblance stops there. Isabelle's messy, Monica's neat. Isabelle's super fast, while Monica pokes along at the mere speed of light. Isabelle's involved in a million things at once, Monica's studious and thorough. Of course, everything's relative. What Monica calls unhurried, we call a blur. On any given school morning, Isabelle can be seen playfully prodding her pokey sister Monica to gather lunch, books, and video equipment for school and their job of running the school's TV news show, Comet Sense. Note, the name was later reworked in the summary document as, they run the school's Holovision news show, whimsically known as Comet Tales. Then she drags her sister at warp speed to the school shuttle launch pad on their Outback asteroid. Off at Mach speed for another exciting day at Mobius Moon High, with adventure, friends, and mystery. Fun is waiting just around the meteor shower and through the laugh zone. All the news that's fit to sprint. Isabelle and Monica run the Mobius Moon High TV news show, Comet Tales, with more satellite bounce to the ounce. They're the twin Brenda stars of the new millennium. Naturally, Isabelle's the Hedgehog reporter on the scene. Her heroine is Barbara Warthog, the news anchor on Sonic 7, being the anchor who delivers the facts. Monica's behind the scenes, an excellent documentarian, technician, and one Hedgehog crew for their twin Hedgehog English unit. She piles the Gamma Cam. They sometimes must switch jobs with humorously disastrous results. They both have a nose for news, literally. Monica and Isabelle could sniff out a story half a meteor away, but what they really love is a good mystery. And with Dr. Robotnik trying to take over the universe, there's plenty of those around. Mysteries are the main course on their menu as they zip from clue to clue on their solar scooters. Solar-powered minicams akimbo. Home is where the shuttle stop is. Monica and Isabelle live on a distant asteroid, Asteroid 896, where the sun shines all the time. Asteroid 896 has Australian outback qualities, and is a shuttle/truck stop between galaxies for space travelers. It's designated neutral territory for all who use it, but that doesn't stop action from happening. The hotspot is the Sprout Bar, an astral malt shop/rec room/gathering place for the young. It's a pint-sized, light-hearted version of the Star Wars bar. Mom and Dad run the Shuttle Repair Barns and Sprout Bar, respectively. Mom always feels better with a wrench in her hand, and Dad unwinds over a pot of Stardust stew, scraping the Space Burger grill. There are huge warehouses on Asteroid 898, which are the cause of much mischief from outsiders, and much mystery and adventure for our Sonic Snoop sisters. Isabelle and Monica share a room that's every Sonic Hedgehog teen's dream. Jetsons meets Star Wars. Crater Education. If Frank Lloyd Wright had reached the Mobius Moon, he would have carved Mobius Moon High out of the lunar landscape, next to a natural crater stadium for all the Mobius sports. The science lab hovers above the ground, there's a full academic curriculum, as well as art and music. Best of all, the school's communication department has a television station from which Monica and Isabelle broadcast their daily news show, Comet Tales. A piece of their broadcast is a part of every show, and often a viable part of the plot. Roll call! Obnotnik, Robotnik's rotten nephew, is a constant thorn in Monica's and Isabelle's side. He's a juvenile delinquent with pull, always out to scoop a news story, cast doubts upon the twins' reporting, and generally be a pain. Obnotnik, more often than not, puts himself in the soup and has to be bailed out by the twins. Miss Astral Dawn. The twins' faculty advisor/mentor is a former astronaut and anchor person on MNN, Mobius News Network, until she went toe-to-toe, or mic-to-mic, with Robotnik's policies. Then she was shuttled and shuffled off to a teaching position, where she still makes her voice heard. She is sympathetic to the twins and has 2 feet firmly on the ground, despite the gravity situation. With her help, the twins take their news to the limit. Caltech is the Mobius Moon High TV station's one-teen tech crew and technoid. He also does a daily VJ stint on the station, a la Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam. He's a source of news tips and always there to help. Mr. Straight and Narrow. The principal is always by the book, always there to make sure standards are maintained. He helps keep the twins' schoolwork and careers in balance. Tales of the Comet. Meanwhile, Isabel and Monica are out gathering the news, and just as often making it. Monica and Isabel's home life, school life, and young careers as Astral News Hawk swirls in a supersonic double dose of intergalactic mystery, comedy, and adventures in each episode.
Scouting for trouble.
In a swashbuckling adventure, the Sonic sisters must perform a daring rescue after a desperate space pirate disguised as a brownie troop leader kidnaps the hapless brownies to row his pirate ship. Space Ways for No One. Cousin Sonic is brought in to help coach Isabel back into shape for the big track meet, after the rival school's coach feeds her one of Robotnik's notorious instant weight gain fat bars that causes instant weight gain. Defeat of Clay. When the girls stay late to report on the art department's new kiln, they discover the kiln is in fact a top-secret Dr. Robotnik experiment that transforms the students' clay sculptures into mischievous gremlins. But whatever they do, these are no ordinary high school girls. As Robotnik and his mini miscreants learn to their dismay, you don't mess with Super Sonic Sisters.
That was weird.
So yeah, Super Sonic Sisters, that was a thing. Had the show actually been made, it definitely would have been the most different out of any of the Sonic cartoons. First off, it doesn't focus on Sonic.
In all the DiC Sonic shows, Sonic was always still a major character.
Sure, the new characters often got the spotlight as well, but Sonic was still always a very integral part of each show. I get this wanted to focus on a female demographic,
But it's just kind of odd that Sonic is relegated to being the cousin of the main characters who may cameo in an episode or two.
That being said though, I actually really do like Isabel and Monica. Sure, there's not a whole lot to base my opinion of these characters on, but I think the dynamic as presented is quite fun. I especially like how, despite probably getting on each other's nerves sometimes, especially with the polar opposite personality thing, they still do love each other as siblings, and work together on stuff.
Another thing that seems odd at first glance is how the show is completely set in space.
But it's really not as weird as you may think. Mobius, in SatAM, was originally going to be an alien planet, and in the pilot, you actually see Robotnik flying in from outer space.
And in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog,
Sonic even meets up with a few aliens in the episode Close Encounters of the Sonic Kind. And this idea is common among other Sonic projects, like the Fleetway comics, Sonic X, and the new movies. So having it set in space isn't a super weird idea, especially since Sonic traveling through space has been done dozens of times.
I think the main oddity here is that most of the cast is entirely composed of original characters.
They don't seem like bad characters, but it's odd to have a Sonic show without anyone from the games present. Even Underground still had Sonic, Knuckles, and Robotnik in it. This definitely isn't helped by the fact that one of the characters is yet another nephew to Robotnik,
With it not being Snively, but seemingly just a younger version of Robotnik named
Obnotnik, which may be one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my entire life. It also falls into some tropes that most Sonic stuff avoids, such as the teens attending high school and them going mystery solving. I'm honestly surprised they didn't just give him a talking dog. Still, I do think the premise of the show does sound fun. The potential of sci-fi stories is pretty much endless, and arguably offers a lot more possibilities in terms of plot and setting than a show set on just one planet. I honestly would have liked to see how a lot of these elements in the show would have played out. I'm not exactly sure what the tone would have been like,
whether it would have been a bit more comedic like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog,
or more serious and story-driven like Sonic SatAM, or if it would have just been a bit of both. From what I can tell, it seems like it may have been a bit of both. A lot of the storylines seem to be more lighthearted and comedic, but stuff like the overlooming threat of Robotnik taking over the galaxy,
and especially the storyline regarding Miss Astral Dawn and trying to spread the news against Robotnik.
I could see it having some more high-stakes storylines and episodes at times. Also, I just love the idea of Caltech, just because, again, the idea of a Robin Williams-inspired Sonic character sounds like the most amazing idea ever.
And also, them fighting space pirates? That would have been sick as hell.
In general, it would have been pretty neat to see how DiC might have handled the greater galaxy of Sonic. Characters live on Australian asteroids,
Travel on space scooters, have a high school on Mobius's moon.
It honestly seems like it would have been a really fun show. The only thing that kinda makes me go, is the high school thing. Nothing's wrong with characters going to school in cartoons, but I worry they would have fallen back on that setting a lot, when it really should be focusing on cool space locations. Regardless, what would the reception of the show been like had it actually been made?
Personally, I think it probably would have been kinda disliked initially, but people would have grown to appreciate it later on for its uniqueness and weirdness.
I especially think this with the characters Isabel and Monica. These two could have been the original Sonya and Manic, but alas, it was not meant to be. While DiC was considering making Supersonic sisters, it was only for a very brief time. These two documents seem to be almost all that was made for the show. Supersonic sisters really didn't go that far. It seems that DiC was content with the two Sonic shows they currently had on the air, although their desire to appeal to a more feminine demographic regarding the Sonic shows would continue. Season 2 of Sonic SatAM would introduce Dulcie. Dulcie was created because DiC told Ben Hurst, Patalee, and Lynn Jansen that they had to create a character for Season 2 that would appeal to a female audience. So, Dulcie was born. And of course, we'd also get actual Sonic siblings through Sonic Underground, also featuring a female sibling, although this time around, it was a sister rather than cousins. While Supersonic sisters never made it past early development documents, it's fun to imagine what could have been. Would the show have been good? Would it have gone in a sillier direction or a more serious one? How would the Sonic fandom at large have come to view the show in hindsight? Would it have been a beloved classic like SatAM or Adventures? Or would it have been an embarrassing forced mess a la Underground? Who knows? But regardless, it's one part of Sonic's history that I'm very glad is now found. And with that, I've been Jacob Berkeley. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. If you're interested in more DiC Sonic history, check out my Twitter, The Complete History of Sonic SatAM, which posts updates and fun facts of the upcoming book I'm writing of the same name. And until next time, stay way past cool!